about Apple, we talk about Starbucks, we talk about Dell, we talk about all of these great success stories in the digital age, right? But as a musician or as a record company, we simply don't own our consumer insights. We can go to the next slide. The other piece of this, which I find to be so exciting, right, is that iTunes as a distributor also charges me 30% for every album I sell, right? So this is a very, very interesting arrangement, right? Because I spend all my money making a nice album and everything, and then I hand it over to iTunes and they take $3 for every album that they distribute for me. Now, we're in the digital age. If you've ever wanted to send an album, if you want to email an album to someone, right, it's very easy to do so, and you could do so free of charge, right? But if you want to do so within the iTunes distribution platform, they actually charge you 30%, and they justify that 30% because they're getting so much traffic, right? But for an independent artist, and for many independent artists around the world, the only way that someone knows that their album is in iTunes is because they tell them that it's in iTunes, right? And so, in essence, they may or may not be sending customers to iTunes, right? But when they send a customer to iTunes, two things happen. One, iTunes charges $3 for the sale. And number two, iTunes takes their consumer information and then sells them someone else's record, right? And we don't get a percentage of the record that they sold of someone else's, right? But we still give them the information just because as independent artists, we want to be able to say, hey, our record is on iTunes. It's very easy to send people to go there, and they can search it and find it, right? Next slide. So I decided, for me, I wanted to try something once again. I had done it before. Could I do this again? Could I actually disrupt the model for the music business? Could it be possible? And I found out that the answer was yes. So I came home from a tour. I did a tour, and I sat down and I did a crash course in a programming language called Ruby on Rails. Anyone familiar with it? Yeah, Ruby. I love Ruby, right? Yeah, Ruby's my new girlfriend, right? So anyway, yeah. So basically, in a very, very simple fashion, I programmed a companion database application, which basically serves as a CRM. Now, this may seem like such a very, very simple concept. Why? Because Salesforce has already built $1 billion enterprise out of it, CRM, right? But it's never been applied to the music business. And this is really where the breakthrough can be apparent, right? Is applying a best practice from another industry to an industry that's underserved, right? And so for about $3,000 in help, because I eventually needed to call some friends to actually help me get this to where I wanted it to be, I was able to actually connect to the APIs of a few partners around the net to start to build a very comprehensive consumer profile for anyone who actually legally bought my album. Right, so we can go to the next slide. So we partnered with a company called Shopify. Shopify actually handles our storefront, and as you can see, my album is there for sale directly from me. I am the retailer. It doesn't cost me $3 to sell my album to anyone. Next slide. And anytime someone actually buys my record, it gives me an update, right? So anytime someone buys my record, anytime someone buys one of the sweatshirts, anytime someone buys a ticket, I get an update right on my phone. Next slide. And what's cool about this is that I can actually now see exactly what's happening with my fans around the world. This is pretty awesome, right? But the other piece about this is that if Twitter became a graveyard, much like MySpace did, and I know they're about to do an they're about to do an IPO, IPO, there's an IPO, and if it became a graveyard tomorrow, the fans or the consumers to whom I have access here, I actually own this relationship, right? So this is a very, very beautiful thing, right? So Facebook dies tomorrow, Twitter dies tomorrow, and mind you, Facebook charges me all the time whenever I want to reach more than, you know, the little number of people that I can reach right now. I have 390,000 likes, but, you know, my engagement is so low. There's so many other pages on Facebook. If you really want to reach people, you can pay them, and they will promote your posts. But for these people, I can reach them directly, right? And I have different products in my store. And from just 5,000 fans, I've already raised, and actually it's a little bit different now because that was in the 16th of September. So a month later, I'm actually up to about maybe $110,000 already. Take it to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so what's also cool about this is I actually can now figure out and see who my top fans are around the world, right? So, and I can segment them down. So how many people bought my album in New York? How many people bought my album in Germany? 790. I think there's more than that now, but, and I'm on tour, and it actually helps me to make much better business decisions. Now, for all of you out there, you say, well, man, this is just, I mean, this is so obvious. This is of course, you can see everything, you can make better business decisions. This has never